Tag TV and Tag Radio. Be seen and heard by both technology users and technology producers throughout the state of Georgia and around the world. Low cost, big benefits, powerhouse online branded video and audio has arrived. Tag TV, Tag Radio, there's a lot more to know. One day, 95 events, 20 government partners, 11,000 participants hacked for change last weekend, and incredible things happened. 38 states, 83 cities, from a few people in a handful of towns to over 300 people at Hack LA, to 5,000 plus in Palo Alto. Mayors attended in Los Angeles, Palo Alto, San Diego, Baltimore, Kalamazoo, and Louisville. Mayors' representatives attended in another 15 plus cities. Several cities declared an official Civic Hacking Day, from Bangor, Maine, to right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Greetings, everyone. It's Friday, June 7th, 2013, and this is Tech Talk with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mantella. I'm your guest host, Frank Baia. Great projects built to address the challenges submitted by government agencies and other national partners. It was a countrywide innovation crowdsourcing, tagged, if you will, a National Day of Civic Hacking, bringing together citizens, software developers, and entrepreneurs to collaboratively create and invent new solutions using publicly released data, code, and technology to solve challenges relevant to our neighborhoods, our city, our state, our country, and our world. The buzz and the crowd gathered early in front of the Synergy building on 5th and Spring. Soon it was standing room only as the Hodges Conference Facility quickly filled to capacity. Hundreds of Georgia hackers ready to roll up their sleeves, get involved, and work together to improve our society. An eclectic, albeit electric, combination of expertise and entrepreneurial spirit, demonstrating just what's possible when we all work together to make a difference and the world a better place. With a dedicated, endless, and committed work by TAG's Senior Director of Economic and Community Resources, Heather Miner, and with the leadership and dedication by the Atlanta Day of Civic Hacking event organizer, Terry Allen, leader at the local chapter of the Random Acts of Kindness Atlanta, we can all stand proud as our city was not only well represented, but stood high among the nation's participants, even attracting a special participant from the Peace Corps who flew into Atlanta just to support the hard work and commitment that had gone into this stellar, innovative, and altruistic community-focused event. Up to the Tech Talk to share the insights of both the event's success and its outcomes, we speak with the Atlanta organizer, Terry Allen, and that Peace Corps representative that flew in. He happens to be the acting director of innovation at the Peace Corps, co-creator of the Peace Corps Innovation Challenge, and a former Peace Corps volunteer in Ghana. We greet Patrick Choquette, one day and two people who join with thousands to make a difference. It's a Tech Talk about one day to remember, a day of civic hacking. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by GlobalSpeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of GlobalSpeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. Patrick, Terry, welcome to Tech Talk.
Hi, how are you doing?
Well, congratulations to both of you guys. Patrick, on a national and large-scale basis, I know there was a lot of action and a lot of activity. And certainly, Terry, I understand great hats off to you for organizing and putting together such a successful campaign, a successful event. Patrick, let's start a little bit about, I think most people would be a little bit surprised. Most of us are not aware that the Peace Corps has a Director of Innovation. Let's talk a little bit about what is the purpose and what are some of the things that you're involved with there.
Yeah, that's actually a question I get a lot. So the Office of Innovation really is just only about 3 years old, but we kind of have free reign to think outside the box and tackling problems. So our day-to-day work is based on problem solving, and we're just attempting to push the agency forward to be more open, more transparent, more crowdsourced, more efficient, and really encouraging our employees and our volunteers to think about how to do things differently. And a lot of times this overlaps with technology, but not necessarily. In this initiative, it's obviously a part of it. Part of it is technology, but really it's about a new way of supporting our volunteers by connecting them to do-good coders and hackers in their own country and around the U.S.
Well, I think it's great. Obviously, the concept is clearly now. It's taking advantage of where we stand today in terms of the commitment on the part of so many of the younger generation, others as well, no doubt, for decades as far as the Peace Corps is concerned. But now a case where you've got all of the, or a lot of the technology that are in your toolbox that allow you to, I would think, do things differently than you might have been ever done before. Tell us a little bit, do you, as the organization, do you have connection to your volunteers on a regular basis, or do you use cloud technology in some form of level of sophisticated communication to keep them in touch or something? How does that work?
Well, it's interesting because, since we've been around for the last 50-plus years, when my father was a Peace Corps volunteer, he spoke to his supervisor maybe 4 or 5 times during his 2 years of service. And spoke to his family. I think it was once on Christmas and once on Mother's Day. Fast forward to when I was a volunteer in Ghana in 2005, 2007, without cell phone coverage in my village, the connection to not only our country staff, but let alone our headquarters staff, was pretty much still non-existent. What we've seen in the last 5 years, and maybe even in the last 2, is this boom of connectivity throughout the world and where our volunteers are. Most return volunteers and most people will be absolutely shocked to know that 51% of our volunteers now have internet connectivity in their home. Now, that's more likely than it's sometimes you're more likely to be connected to the internet or a cell phone. You're definitely more likely to be connected to a cell phone than have running water or electricity in your town.
Well, it's one of those aha things, because when you first, when you think about it, and you first hear it, you go, what? And then you go, of course. Well, obviously it would impact. And the part about being able to keep connection with your family as well as with the organization, that's got to mean a lot to a lot of people who have volunteered over the decades and sacrificing that kind of distance from their families and friends. So that's kind of an interesting component to it. So not only does it enhance the capability of communication to the organization, but allows them to keep a connection back to their homes. So I think that's pretty amazing. Terry, let's talk a little bit about Random Hacks of Kindness. Obviously, it's part of a national, if not a global organization. Am I correct about that? You represent the Atlanta representation of that organization?
Yes. Random Hacks of Kindness is global, and so we've been doing on a 6-month cycle, so the first week in June and the first week in December, running the hackathons. And when I first joined, I actually was an attendee for one of the first ones in Atlanta, and then after doing it a couple times, became an organizer for the Atlanta chapter, I guess, so to speak. But yes, there's actually a couple of dozen cities at the same time hacking, and as we do these hackathons, sometimes they're not all made in one place. Sometimes you join a team in another city, and so you use Skype or some technology to kind of facilitate that. And sometimes people like Patrick help by coming to our hackathon. So this is his second time coming to Atlanta. So he actually travels to the Atlanta hackathon because we have one of the largest ones. And that's just a over.
Well, I think as it would be expected, probably with the kind of thing that we're talking about, you're being humble about what I understand was a pretty strong commitment on your part to help organize the event. And according to the reports I'm hearing, it was standing room only. That it was quite a packed house, and there were some really great ideas. Maybe throw out, if you can, maybe name a couple of the better ones, Terry, that you kind of were impressed with, and then we'll talk to Patrick about some specifics that he might have taken away from it.
Okay, well, I'll let Patrick talk about some of the Peace Corps ones, but I guess I'll go over a couple that place. We do actually judge the the hacks, even though everybody kind of walks away with T-shirts and we feed everybody really well and we give away lots of prizes. One of them was the Fertile Crescent Urban Ag Data Hack, and that was aggregating a lot of information about food systems in Atlanta, food deserts, urban agricultural food production, warehouse, food aggregation, and the proximity to grocery stores, restaurants, corner markets for Exo people, and just a quick overview. Another one was Pet Facts, which sort of kept track of the life cycle of pets, whether they were lost or not. So a lot of information about pets and shots, or even actions, and even what kind of food they like. If you find a stray pet, or something happens to your pet, or you find something on the street, there's not really a national database for that. And so one team took on that. And another really interesting was a Chuck E's Picture Dictionary, which actually was a Peace Corps proposal that one of the teams did, and it was about a language that was only spoken. And so they were trying to basically make a visual sort of dictionary, and because they're actually making the language for the first time. And that was a really interesting project as well.
Well, that's pretty interesting. As you were talking, I was thinking to myself, I wonder if some of these things that are being generated from an altruistic standpoint aren't forerunners of things that are going to be ultimately used in the public and the private sector from even a commercial standpoint. As you were describing the pet technology, I was thinking that the healthcare evolution and what's going on with distance medicine and telemedicine and some of the use of clouds is that's not that far-fetched that we're going to be doing some of the same things if we're not already doing it with the human population. Patrick, tell us a little bit about what Peace Corps walked away with.
Well, I was just talking to somebody. The Atlanta event is such a huge resource for Peace Corps, and it's really great because our volunteers who are out there at the end of the road really tackling the toughest problems, and with a lot of times with what they feel as little support just because of how isolated they are. It was really powerful to get these people in Atlanta to be able to, almost like you have an army of coders at your back. And so I could see when we connected, we used Skype to connect the volunteer problem statement owner to the teams, and you could just see as they're talking and as the people are describing their solutions, you could see almost the emotional relief it's such an emotional thing for our volunteers to feel that support and feel like, okay, I'm maybe facing these really hard problems, but I've got support, which is what we're trying to do at Peace Corps always, is support our volunteers in this really difficult job they're doing. To talk about some of the specifics, the team that took first place at the hackathon was this mega team of about 15 experts from front end to back end to design, and they created a medical supply order form for our volunteers and then our medical support team in country. So they took on the challenge, which is our volunteers serve a lot of places where there is not or there are not proper medical facilities, and so therefore it's always a struggle logistically for us to be able to provide them with the supplies that they need. We also, since we're in 76 countries, this has to be completely flexible with different technologies and different connectivity levels. So they took that amazing challenge on, and were able to create a kind of a simple dashboard for our medical officers to see the supplies as they come in and order and fulfill them in a really simple, elegant way, and then allow the volunteer the flexibility to make these requests into the same database using a smartphone, using a laptop computer, using the internet cafe, or even SMS.
Wow.
So it was that flexibility into one database, and just the productivity out of that and making it easier on both sides. So that was an amazing one. Quickly, the other three, we had a team tackle a problem from the other Georgia, the Republic of Georgia, a volunteer there as a teacher, and identified this issue with teachers who are not using technology in their grade book. So, like, in the U.S. here, pretty much everybody's at least got an Excel spreadsheet that they're tracking their attendance and their grades on. But because of lack of computer knowledge and comfort, they weren't really doing that. Still paper-based, one book shared throughout the whole school. So they challenged the group here, and they took it on. And they created, which I think is kind of the neat hack here, is they took something and created an offline, so it doesn't have to be internet connected, but can sync up. And then also it's designed in a way so that it's so simple that somebody that is, not necessarily comfortable with computers can still use, which is crucial, and when you're trying to implement these sort of things. The other two, the Chucky's picture dictionary, that's from a volunteer, Sarah, who is serving in the Chuck state in the federal states of Micronesia, way out there in the middle of the Pacific, and she's working on with her students to, like they said, this has been a traditionally verbal language, and so it's a crowdsourced flashcard system. So anyone can add a picture, anyone can add the Chuck word for it, and anybody can add the English word for it. So it's kind of cool because of the crowdsourcing element to that as well. Finally, we had the developer create this Android app that makes it very easy for our volunteers to report back on the things that they're doing. So they can have this in their pocket and be able to report back on indicators that we're trying to track their performance with. That's always a struggle when you're so everywhere in the world to really figure out, okay, what are our volunteers doing and what are we going to keep them accountable for, and how can we brag about the work that they're doing. And this app that was created through the event makes that a lot easier.
Well, no doubt about it. I think both of you and your organizations, especially culminating together to this day focus that happened just over the last week or so, to coin some of the copy that was talked about, it's revolutionizing social development, and obviously the result is increased participation, economic development opportunities that I think a lot of people don't recognize, and then accelerated innovation. We were talking about before some of these things ultimately leading the way in terms of the evolution of what is going to be happening next in the general marketplace. Real quick, and unfortunately we're running out of time, Patrick, if someone wants to participate or how to get involved with your organization, where would they go with more information?
Well, you can go to the peacecorps.gov, which will give you general information about our agency and the work our volunteers are doing. You can also follow us on Twitter at Peace Corps, or check out our Facebook page, which has a lot of really cool updates of, we're talking about the Atlanta event here, but we also had volunteers, which may be even the coolest story of the whole participation of Peace Corps is volunteers in the field connecting with local coders in their own country to tackle problems. And there's some stories that are going to be put up on our Facebook page around that. So that's a great place to check it out. So peacecorps.gov is where you're going to find out more about our agency.
And Terry, of course, Random Acts, where would we go to find more information about Random Hacks of Kindness?
Yeah, so Random Hacks of Kindness, you can go to the main site, which is rhok.org, and you can just click on the events tab and see all the future events that are in all the cities, and there's hopefully a city near you if you're in Atlanta. Definitely come by. If you're in Atlanta, you can also follow the RHOK ATL Twitter account. We have a Facebook page, and many of the other chapters and cities have one as well. So it's pretty easy to find on the web.
Well, Patrick, Terry, thank you so much for what you guys have accomplished. I think your organizations, obviously, no matter how much time and energy has already been put into the past, this is only still just the beginning of what the potential of this kind of thing is going to lead to in the future. You've got to be genuinely satisfied from a personal standpoint, but from a professional standpoint, hats off